I did not think the lights would be this bright up here. But if I look far enough, I can see a younger version of myself waiting for this speech to end so I could finally indulge in President's butter chicken and catch that late night Arsenal match without any idea of how different I'd feel 5 years on. Standing here, addressing a community I've grown to deeply care about, wishing this moment never ended. Until it sinks in, I'd like all of you sitting here to think about a time in your life that transformed you. Can you pin it down to a singular experience or relationship? It seems impossible, but if you reflect hard enough and connect the dots, you'll reach somewhere. The musical instrument you picked up, the sport you fell in love with, and if you're lucky or unlucky, the date you went on, all choices frozen in time that set you on the course to understanding who you truly are. If you think harder, you'll realize that it's your environment that curates these choices for you. Then it's your call. We've all made good ones and bad ones, but somehow Doon pushes us to make a choice every single day. With every independent choice, there's a hope that we can transform ourselves into the person we choose to become. Today, with my final speech polished in black and white, I've come to realize the great dilemma that was making the speech so difficult to write. To maintain the childlike innocence of a 17-year-old kid from Calcutta who quite frankly doesn't feel like he's got it all figured out yet, or to be the one person in school who everyone expects to have everything figured out. Juggling this question through the course of my tenure, trying to fulfill my responsibility, I've gained a deeper insight into myself, the people around me, and the school that has become a part of my identity. Show, don't tell. It's a standard piece of advice given to writers, but it's also an apt description of my initial years in school. Being a deformer who had been raised in a household surrounded by those who walked the very halls of the main building, I felt an inflated sense of comfort and perhaps entitlement about school before meeting my 90-odd batchmates, for most of whom Doon was just a strange four-letter word. In the back of my mind, I thought everything would be smooth sailing, as if I'd make friends within the first 5 seconds of entering Dorm 3 in Martin House, and everyone would know everything about me. Bro, what's that white spot in your eye? Itna serious kyun hai bhai? Why don't you smile sometimes? Questions and passing comments that would secretly keep me up at night. So, one Saturday night, to try and blend in with the rest of my batchmates, who always seemed to be having more fun, I decided to loosen up. That is until I made an extremely offhand joke about one of my batchmates, and reality slapped me in the face, harder than any math exam I've ever written. It's safe to say he didn't particularly understand my crude sense of humor, and so suddenly I was seen as a villain in his eyes, with no one to turn to. For weeks, this person had a terrible perception of me, and eventually it spread to others. I went from trying to fit in to losing touch with who I was. Now, for the sake of this story, let's ignore the fact that that person is now my roommate, who I still bother frequently, because at that moment in time, I knew I'd messed up badly, and I found it hard to live with the fact that school was suddenly not just some idyllic land of opportunity where everything was sunshine and roses, but a carefully crafted simulation where every little action had a direct consequence. And that for the first time, my 12-year-old self was to bear the fruit of my labor in whatever form it took. From that moment on, I promised myself that rather than thinking so much, I just do and think later. Now, when NTC sir gave me a red card for trying a celebration after scoring a goal, you could say I took that a little too literally. But come football season, the bonds eternalized over muddy boots and drenched jerseys became the spark for conversation about everything under the sun. The more things I was doing, the more times I failed, the more I opened up to the people around me. Slowly, those questions and comments began to change. To Arjun, you need to slow down. Why are you doing so much? He'll get burnt out by his SC form. It was too late. By that point, I'd already made up my mind that for whatever I had in my control, I'd embrace the pain of discipline to one day avoid the pain of regret. So that's where it began. Dosco life, like a rush of blood to the head, was about seizing the day with everything that Chandbagh threw at you, to the point where daily homesick phone calls became weekly one-liners, like that quote from Three Idiots, all is well. We had unknowingly invested in the business of memory making, creating a collection of experiences that would bind us with Doscos scattered across every corner of the world. Early morning midterm treks spent exceeding your allowance of calculated risks, celebrating a house cup on the main field as if you'd won the grand lottery, mastering the skill of whispering in assembly without getting caught by a prefect, giving relationship advice to your dorm mate with no credibility but full josh, and of course, bagging that last slice of dessert in the CDH to the rest of your table's misery. I'd say something about the bulletproof rotis, but thankfully they're a thing of the past now. Above all these trivial moments is a process that for 89 years has consistently produced people who have thrived in the outside world. So, to all the parents sitting here today with bags full of tuck waiting to be unleashed, who perhaps wonder why their children can never seem to find the words to describe this process in school, especially during this founder's break, I tell you this. Doon exists to help discover a part of who we are before the world forces us to think about what we should be. And discovery takes time. Spare them that time. You see, every day spent within these walls is your child's silent effort to etch their names into a legacy of legendary people who came before us. Film, journalism, entrepreneurship, law. Legends who have trekked the same midterm paths, run change-in breaks after actually being caught by prefects during assembly, and learned the fine art of faking their confidence before socials. Legends who took all their learnings from moments between morning PT and lights out to somehow make it work for themselves wherever they ended up. Legends who ultimately created the legacy we talk about with such pride today. Those legends are here today because they exist in each and every Dosco sitting in this rose bowl, whether they choose to see it in themselves in 5 days, 5 years, or 5 decades. And I'm confident in this spirit because I see it every single day. I see it in the vulnerable conversations between two deformers who come from polar financial backgrounds. I see it in the relentless curiosity of a C-former's poem in the weekly. I see it in the unwavering confidence of a B-former to switch gender roles for a one-act play competition. I see it in the ability of an A-former to do well in his board exams while still attending that 20-minute futsal game with his form mates. I see it in the 5-minute chats that S-formers have with bhaiyas in the house about their personal lives. Just a few weeks back, I saw it in the courage of my SC form batchmates to shout 3 cheers for our victorious opponents, knowing that our last ever school team game ended in a narrow defeat. What's more, I see it in those masters who don't limit themselves to the walls of the classroom, who go above and beyond to understand the person behind our title and school number. As cliche as it may sound, the glory of our community is never defined by the amount of things we accomplish inside or outside, but by the impact we have on each other, because all we really have is each other. That's what makes us legendary. Yet, it pains me that there are people who question the relevance of Doon's process in today's educational landscape, one that is plagued by the rat race of college placements, obtaining the perfect degree and landing the perfect job. While the world is changing and is more competitive than ever before, there's a secret ingredient to this process that makes our recipe timeless amidst the new flavors of the 21st century. When I joined the main house, I realized that the biggest stakeholders in Doon's success were seniors, who had been shaped by the tireless efforts of every master, dame, bera bhaiya, ground mali, and silent admin worker. Role models, running laps in the morning, debating after lunch, hitting cover drives during games time, acting at night, somehow managing to study between everything, all while maintaining a stoic face to make it seem like they had the world at their fingertips. It always felt like there was something I could aspire towards, and I didn't have to look very far. If they could do it, I knew I could too. For many, the process of aspiring towards something begins the day they join school. Some fulfill it during their school journey, others don't. But eventually, that spirit of wanting to make an impact on those around you catches on someday. So that deep down, in the distant future, we feel worthy of wearing this badge on our blazers. That we feel worthy of all this privilege to ultimately make a difference. Speaking of which, serving the school for a year has been an absolute privilege. Sometimes I'd ask myself and my friends a bit too much if I was doing the right thing. But eventually I found my answers in the sense of belonging that had been sparked in the hearts of students who felt secure and happy in school. Through the culture of mentorship between senior and junior, student and master, I feel content with where school is at today. But understand that Doon does not belong to a specific set of individuals with positions or titles. It is collectively ours, and we should be willing to speak up about the things that we feel require change. Take accountability, ask the right questions, have the right intentions, and we will continue to do wonders. My message to my successors is simple. Leave no man behind, for a team is as strong as its weakest link. The future of this school depends on the feeling of togetherness that can outlive everything and everyone who tries to pretend it doesn't exist from the outside. To quote the late Ratan Tata, if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk far, walk together. Since 1935, if all we did was want to walk fast, tick boxes, and forget to treat each other with respect, we would probably not have been able to preserve the values, traditions, and brotherhood that we still cherish in 2024. Soon enough, I'll just be another addition to the 88 other names outside the HM's office, and in a couple of months, just another old boy, reminiscing on all our stories. So, before these bright lights dim and restaurants across Dehradun get booked out in a matter of seconds, I'd like to answer a question that's been floating our minds, especially after yesterday's debate. What is a Dosco today? To my brothers, if you can keep your calm when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when others doubt you, but make room for their doubts and push through, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, unless it's the HM score over, of course. Being lied about, refuse to fall for lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, yet show strength and never mask it with disguise. If you can dream of midterm peaks with a hopeful tear, yet never forget the river touch bajri that got you here. If you can think ahead with a form mate or a master guiding, yet embrace the untouched path without hiding. If you can meet triumph and disaster with the same grace that shape a Dosco's heart, if you can stand tall when all else is faltering and know that it's honor that sets us apart. If you can bear to see the legacy you've built here twisted by those who don't yet understand, or watch the societies you've worked for crumbling, yet step forward, rebuild, and recommand. If you can walk with leaders polished in black or blue and inspire 500, yet remain a friend to a few. If all men bleed with you, but you're not swayed just then, and every mistaken action you strive to mend. If you can laugh, embodying the brotherhood we show, if you can cry and share with those who grow, if you can look back one day old and grey with pride, in knowing you lived with that burning lamp inside, yours will be the path many long to find, that above the bent rules, whispered laughter, and countless memories entwined, no matter the shade of your blazer or the color of your tie, you can call yourself a Dosco, forever undefined. Thank you and have a wonderful Founders Day.